allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. The first item on the agenda is public comment to receive oral communications from members of the public. Members of the public may address the Select Board for up to 3 minutes, longer with the permission of the Chair. The Select Board shall not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes unless extended at the discretion of the Chair. Do we have any public comment tonight? Hi, Jack, come on up.
Jack Rybicki, 37 Larkin Road, Byfield, Mass., Newbury. I'd like to speak to Jeff in particular, but to everyone concerning last week's appointments to the Concom. The 3 appointments which were made clearly will make a big difference on Concom because it instantly changes the majority. The chair, the current chair, Brian Colleran, wasn't mentioned. Brian has a Master's of Science from the University of Michigan in Natural Resources. He's a certified restoration ecologist. He's a certified professional wetland specialist, and he's an advanced field botanist. We can't find a finer guy to represent our environment in the town. And it was disturbing to not hear his name mentioned as part of the committee reappointments. And it's my fervent hope that he will be reconsidered tonight when board and committee appointments, which are on the agenda I see, are brought up, and that, Jeff, the legacy of the marshes is at stake because clearly the 3 candidates chosen, Bob Connors, a builder, Tony Conti, an undertaker, and Diane O'Brien, a probate court specialist, I submit to you don't have, respectively or cumulatively, the experience that Brian Colleran brings to the table every single time he shows up at a meeting. And I'm asking you urgently to consider him, his reappointment, not only to the board, but I would suspect the board would reappoint him as chair. Thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else have public comment?
Hi, everyone. David Maida, 61 Larkin Road. I'm just kidding. We all know. 38 Larkin Road, Justin Lonergan. All right, I'll keep it short. So I want to begin tonight again by offering my sincere thanks, gratitude, and love. I want to thank everyone again, every one of the awesome citizens from Plum Island, Old Town, and Byfield who supported the petition we launched for a special town meeting just several weeks ago. My neighbors and I immensely appreciate your support, your love of our community, and your commitment to our democracy. It is truly, truly awesome, and we are grateful, humbled, and in awe. I want to also thank the Select Board, Town Administrator Blaze, and Town Clerk Leslie Haley for accepting our petition and for coordinating with us on the special town meeting and working together to make history in Newbury. We are on the precipice of an historic moment for our very historic town. There is no precedent, to my knowledge, for what we, the citizens, have done and what we are about to do. This is a defining moment, a legacy-making moment, to forever solidify what the will of the people means to the town of Newbury. We are excited, we are grateful, and we look forward to it. Thank you. And I know that discussion we can't interact, but I'll be here in case there are any questions.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks.
Are there any other public comment? Going once? Okay. For board and committee reports, report of the Chair Greco. I signed the PR 2225 for Julie O'Brien and the PR 2225 for the Select Board. We have some grants, gifts, and donations. Governor's Academy is first up, and I'd like to welcome Peter Plumley from the Governor's Academy. Please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's been a long time since we've been together. I have a donation that I would like to make to the town on behalf of the Academy. But before I do that, I just want to note how honored we feel to be part of this wonderful community. It's been a long time since we've seen each other. You all should expect to see in your email sometime soon an invitation from me to an event that we're hosting at the Academy later in August for local leaders. Some of you are familiar with the school and the campus well, others maybe not so much. And we want to welcome you all in and have a chance to interact now that we're sort of reemerging from a COVID world. Several years ago, when we were struggling to move forward with a plan on for the new police station, I said that we would try to make a commitment to provide support for the debt service on that building and to increase our support over time. The FY21 was a tough year for us. We had about $750,000 in expenses just for COVID testing for our community alone that year. But this year we were able to continue with our commitment, so I'd like to present you with a check for $50,000.
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Quimbley.
Wow,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Motion to accept. Second, with
Any
appreciation. Thank you very much.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that limited for its uses?
Mr. Quimbley, is this encumbered in any way specific? It's just for the debt service, for the,
That was the commitment that we made to the town, but I'm offering it as a donation and would defer to the judgment of the select board.
Are there
Thank
any,
you.
are there any outgoing expenses that the police station has right now? Tracy, coming up?
Well, initially it was for payment of the debt service
Yep.
associated with
Okay,
the construction, so that money would go towards that, and it would reduce
good.
the burden on the taxpayers by that amount.
so I guess, would like to enter, well, let's vote on the acceptance of this. All in favor?
Aye.
I think I would like to entertain a motion to accept this money as intended, as, to go towards the debt service as it was intended.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Jerry, you okay with that?
No, I'm, no discussion.
Okay. Dana?
No discussion.
JR? Jack?
And just thanks again, that's great.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Great to have you guys in our town.
It
Thank you.
is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Shared Streets and Spaces Program, the Newbury Parker Street Trail Connection. Martha, I believe that's you, correct? One of your many hats.
I'm Martha Taylor, Newbury Planning Director. So if you recall, some time ago, Jordy Vining, the project director or project manager for Newburyport for the trail, came before the board to talk about extending the Clipper City Rail Trail, the final link between the railway station portion and the trailhead at Parker Street.
Yes.
And so there are two portions still to be remaining, to be done. One, the State Street intersection was already done. Ed Hill has committed to doing a section in front of his property there on Parker Street. And this is just under 400 linear feet from the trailhead at Parker Street to the Newburyport municipal boundary. So we actually applied for 2 grants and were awarded both of them.
Oh, fabulous.
So one is for the Shared Streets and Spaces Grant, and that's $200,000 from Mass DOT. The other is Mass Trails Grant, which will make up most of the difference. That grant was actually announced today, but will need less than what they had originally awarded because they are making up the difference. And then Coastal Trails Coalition has also committed $15,000 towards that, so.
So what's the total cost going to be, do you know?
So the total construction cost estimate is $215,000. The construction administration services from the engineers, $22,000, I believe. We'll see what the bids come in. You know, we don't really know what the bidding climate is right
Okay.
now. It should be going out to bid potentially next week. The bid documents are being reviewed right now, and I think bids are due in the beginning of August, so we'll see.
Oh, great.
But Mass Trails will make up whatever that difference is.
It's wild. Now, that goes in front of the cemetery?
It does go in front of the cemetery.
Are they gonna have to move the fence back?
So the fence, yeah, the fence is actually within our right-of-way, so they're going to
Yeah.
be moving the fence back, and it's going to be replaced, actually, the old nasty chain link fence is going away, and there will be a a split rail fence instead.
Martha, how are they handling the, I mean, that's kind of a stormwater ditch, stormwater.
Yeah, so they're diverting it.
So
That's
they're
part of the
diverting it
process.
before it gets there somewhere?
Yeah, so it's going to be going into the catch basins
Okay,
there.
good.
Great.
Wow, big project.
I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second? Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
I just was, is the width gonna be the same that's in front of the Kelly's portion right now, like all the way down to the trailhead?
I think it varies between 10 feet, 8 feet and 10 feet. 10 feet is what's desired to actually have sort of two passing lanes there for bikes and pedestrians. But there will be some portions where it's 8 feet.
And the road will be pretty much the same width as it is now?
It will be, the travel lanes will be narrowed slightly, which is actually going to be a beneficial traffic calming measure there. So they'll be 11 feet in both directions, which is, standard for our local roads. And will keep cars from speeding through there as much as they do right now.
But excuse me, Dana, anything else?
Go right ahead.
But the people that are walking are still pretty far away from the road,
They're going to be
right?
far away from the road, so there is a grass buffer, and there's going to be
Perfect.
a wooden fence there, similar to what's at the Newburyport State Street.
I mean,
intersection.
people really forget that, not so much pickup trucks like mine, but the mirrors are out on the 3/4 tons, but the delivery trucks are wide, and those mirrors are huge.
Yeah, so they'll be
So-
well back from the travel lanes.
And this has been dangerous now for quite a while. Martha, that's a great job you've done.
Yeah, no, it has been
Really good.
dangerous. The grant application, showed people walking, walking down basically within the travel lanes and things like that. So this will be a big improvement, especially when Eddie Hill gets his done, then it'll be a continuous
I
loop.
think you did a great job. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Any other questions?
Tara? Jerry? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there's no public hearings. Under new business, we have a town hall presentation from Jeff Shaw.
Hey, Jeff.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to be back in front of you again. So I think while we're getting the presentation up and running, I'll give you kind of a brief rundown. So we were asked, sorry, I should start by saying, I thought you all knew me, but I'm sure the people at home don't. Jeff Shaw, I'm principal at Context Architecture. And we were engaged by the town to review and have been repeatedly engaged to review the needs for the town hall, particularly as it relates to the former or existing site of the previous town hall that was formerly the police station and is sitting there now. The site that we've studied is the same as the existing site. We haven't changed it in any way, but this most recent revisit of that land is to consider a new facility for town hall and to consider a facility that has an approximate maximum square footage on the two main floors of about 10,000 square feet. So that was the charge that we were given. We worked with Martha and Tracy to look at the prior programming that was done for this project and try to slim it down. The prior programming came up with roughly about 17,000 square feet. There was a prior study that reduced that to about 14,000 square feet, and now we're at roughly about 10,000 square feet, with the expectation that, similar to how the police station was designed, that there'd be an available attic space that could be used for storage and other things, non-office space, because you couldn't necessarily have a space with no windows for people to be up there, but that it could be designed in such a way that in the future, the town might be able to use that space for offices if we at least allowed the elevator and egress stairs to go up there. So a very particular and strategic, I think, charge to the design. This was based in part on trying to limit the cost of the project, and I should say that we've been studying it for several years, and in that time, the construction costs, as you all know, have rapidly increased. So I'll walk you through the few slides that we have. We did a site plan. I think if you can, great. So the site plan is here. The building is situated in the same orientation, and as the current building, and so it's set back from the street a bit more, and we have parking on both the backside and the side of the lot there, north side of the lot. It's approximately 42 spaces. This is sort of a rough sketch of what it would look like from the top down. So it'd be a main entry on the west side, and then there'd be additional entries to the stairs that go up to the upper floor on the both the north and the south side. So the idea is that the front would be landscaped space, and we'd have parking in the backs areas, that we'd be able to navigate the distance to the front of the building by grading the site differently than it is now, so it'd be flatter, and you'd be able to navigate that without having to use ramps. So you'd enter it at the lower level, the ground floor level, and there'd be a second floor level above that. So this has approximately 10,000 square feet per floor, with an additional 2,900 usable square feet in the attic. So if you would. On the first floor plan, enter in through a vestibule in the lobby. There would be the clerk's area, the assessor's area, and the treasurer's area on the main floor, along with the vault. There'd be some mechanical and electrical spaces, some bathrooms, IT director, and then there'd be a couple of multi-purpose, multi-use conference space of smaller sizes on this level. The elevator would be central in the plan so that folks could get upstairs, and upstairs is where the main select board meeting room would be, and that means there'd be a lot more public using the stairs, using the elevator, so the elevator was placed in a much more prominent location given its expected use. And then on the second floor, again, it's equal square footage on both floors. Each floor it's 5,000 square feet. On this floor, again, you'd get off the elevator, you'd have planning and building basically in front of you. To the left or the south end of the building, you'd have the select board hearing room or a hearing room. And then to the right or the north side, you'd have the health area, conservation, staff break room, as well as printing and copying supply area, and a DPW office. And then towards the east side of the plan, the back end of the building, you'd have the town accountant, town administrator's offices, as well as the last smaller conference room. And then finally, on the upper floor, we'd have storage for a variety of program areas: conservation, health, inspectional services, zoning, planning, IT, all that. And then you'd have a network room and the mechanical area for the building. So it's a pretty bare bones layout. It doesn't show furniture, but these spaces are fairly tight areas for the staff that's here. I didn't go through and make more edits to this, but there certainly could be additional design work done. In speaking with Tracy, there's a few areas where they'd like to make some improvements to this design, but this was the main purpose, was seeing how it would fit, how it would work out at 10,000 square feet. So if you wouldn't mind going, I've got a couple of preliminary renderings that show what it would look like from High Road. So this is sort of looking towards the south view on High Road. So you'd see that generally the site has been leveled, parking on the left there, and a two-story building with the attic area. And the attic would be designed in such a way that you would be able to put dormers, and so windows could go in the future if you wanted to turn that area into more usable office space.
So the elevator's gonna go to the...
The elevator would go to the attic, as well as both stairs would go to the attic.
Yep, makes sense.
And then another view up High Road towards the north. Again, you can see it's set back on the site. There'd be some suggestion of landscaping up front, maybe could be used for memorials or flags, that sort of thing. And then you'd have that main entry with the canopy out front. So that, I believe, is the end of the drawings. There's always, I'm sure, a very keen interest in how much is this all going to cost. It's hard to say. I have to say, standing here, it's very challenging. If I knew what it's going to cost in 6 months, I probably would not be in this business. I'd be making money on the stock market. But Our best guess is year over year, construction costs have been going up between 10 to 15%, which is astronomical. Typically, it's about 4% per year escalation on construction costs. When we estimated this project back in 2021, we had put about a $550 to $575 square foot price tag on it. I'd say at this point, we're looking at 600, maybe 650 per square foot. And that would equal a construction budget of around $8.4 million. And then a total project cost of just over $10 million for all the additional services that would be required to get the project complete. This is broad brush numbers. We haven't done any planning or real detailed looks at furnishings, equipment, all the services or anything else that has to go into this, but just rough numbers. So giving you a big picture look at where this might fall. And there's a lot of discussion in the architecture and construction industry right now whether there will be any repercussions of the high prices that have been happening and the high housing costs, and we're starting to see a little bit of an issue with the housing from the architectural side. But commercial seems to still be going very strong, and municipal as well. So we shall see what the fall brings, but that is essentially my report, and I'm happy to answer all the questions that I can at this time.
All right, thank you. I'm going to start with the board. Jerry, do you have any questions? Do you want me to come back to you? No,
Yeah.
you can go first. If you
Yeah,
want.
come back to me.
Okay.
Same construction as the police station?
Virtually the same construction, yeah.
Same
That's what
type of construction.
we assumed for construction cost purposes that it would be the same.
And we might get lucky if time goes on with the costs coming down.
Well, lucky is a relative term, right? Because we would need a big R to happen before we get
Yeah.
lucky.
Our interest rates to be high.
So for folks at home, I know it's hard to visualize the site as depicted in the picture, but basically that'll be leveling the site. I know there's an old septic system and other things that can come out of there.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have much in the way of stairs or a step to get in. It'd be similar to the police station. You can walk right in.
It would be, and I know the rendering is illustrative and not an engineered
Yeah.
drawing, so there would be more grading that's probably than what is depicted there, but the intent is to not have any ramps, to be able to walk, to roll in if you need to on the first floor and have access, handicap access throughout the building and have access to the parking without any issues as well. But yeah, we would be having to take out some of the hill that's there to do that.
Yeah, that building though, I mean, that's not, what's it gonna be to be 10,000 square feet, 5,000 on each floor? It's not that much bigger than the town hall that's sitting there.
That's true. I think the existing building's about 7,000 square feet or something like that.
Or even a little more, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for visualization for people, that tells you how big that footprint is.
Yep. Yeah, and this is a different configuration. It is a wider building, but it's a third bigger maybe.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Jerry?
Not at this time.
Dana?
I understand this is just a rendering concept. The distance from the front door, the foyer there, out to 1A, it looks, what's baffling me is this parking lot in the back.
Yep.
It's impressive that you can fit that back there, with the police, with the fire station in between. How much space are we actually gonna have from the front door to the street?
Would you mind flipping back to the site plan, the second page, I think? Be easier for people to see. Oop.
Where was it? Did I go by it? This one? Yep. Oh, okay.
So I believe it's about, to the street edge, it might be about 60 feet.
60 feet?
Yeah, to the door. And, the idea is that it's probably hard to envision now because the asphalt just kind of goes everywhere. The road blends into the driveway that's there. And so when you have a curb edge there, you'll be able to understand a little bit better how far the existing building is back from the street. It's already back a good deal from the street. So this isn't taking it just maybe a little bit further, but not much.
Well, that was my question. My follow-on question would be, what is the current distance from the front door, from those steps to the street?
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that question, but it's not much different from what we'd be proposing here. Basically, the whole design concept was predicated on the first part of your question, which was, how do you fit a two-bay parking lot, a double-sided parking lot, behind whatever building we're doing to give the most amount of setback to the road, with the intention of making it look like a public building, you know, having a big setback, having some sort of public space in front of it, and then the ability to, you know, have that facade be a little bit more prominent. There's certainly other ways to do the project. We could move the building closer. You know, certainly making it closer and having more space in the back gives you options in the future if you ever wanted to put an addition onto the building. If you push it back as much as we have in this rendering, any additions would probably need to sacrifice parking for the future. Well, that's the point of doing the attic the way we were requested to do it, is so that your future expansion is vertical rather than horizontal.
Another question, the parking spaces, you have 10 off-site on here. Is that included in the 42? Or is the 42 on-site and 10 additional off-site?
Well, it's been a while since I counted them, but I believe it's 42
Yeah, I didn't
on-site.
count today
There's
either.
Yeah.
there's about 40 there, or
Yeah.
41,
I believe
in a
it's
quick count.
42
yeah.
on-site, and the idea was that, you know, depending on time of day of meetings, there'd be additional parking, as there is now, available over at the fire station lot.
And then my last question, I guess this is to the entire board and to Tracy, is how did we evolve into a complete tear down?
Well, that's one of my questions, too. I wanted to ask you, Jeff, about the current building codes, and since with the current building that there is it even possible to renovate that building? I didn't think so, and meet the current
Well,
code.
the code necessarily isn't what's going to do you in, it's the cost. And I would say it's equal to or maybe greater to try to reuse the existing building and get 10,000 square feet. Because, first of all, the building as is doesn't have an elevator, so we'd have to add that. It wouldn't be added in a location that's convenient for the public, and so the circulation and how the building works would be a little convoluted. So we probably would have to actually build more square footage to make it work the way a town hall should, or we'd have to blast a big shaft through the middle, which would be huge cost for structural reasons. There's also a very tight floor-to-floor in the existing building, so mechanicals, electrical, plumbing, running that in this building would be much more challenging and probably be costly, because we'd be having to do it anyways, and finding a way to do it, we'd be taking out space from the lower level to run this plumbing and other things in there. You know, we'd have to deal with the accessibility issues, because right now, as you all know, we'd have to find a way to get the ramp to work in a better way for an actual town hall, with the main door being accessible, which isn't right now. So the amount of cost which we have looked at, not from a cost perspective, but from a design perspective, how it would have to be renovated, I think would be, you know, more than what you would pay to have a brand new building. And that's borne out from other studies, not necessarily for your project, but other studies we've done for other towns that are looking at other municipal facilities and looking at existing buildings and looking at how much it would cost to renovate those versus just build a new facility. So the answer really comes down to historical significance. And it, you know, in most cases, it's cheaper to build the new building new, but if the building is beloved or has that historic significance that it should be kept, and it's preferable to do so, then those are the cases where we would go in and renovate and add on. But I would not recommend it in this case for cost reasons as well as programmatic reasons.
Jeff, how would you get 10,000 square feet? You'd still have to go up in that building. That's 2x4 construction. How do you do that?
So we wouldn't add a floor to it. When we studied it previously, we proposed additions off the back, extending the length of the building. So the lower level would get extended out and the main level would get extended out towards the back to get to whatever the square footage needed. I think we did 3 different options, and it went upwards of 12,000, I think was the biggest option that we got with those renovation schemes. And none of the layouts were ideal, and ultimately that's drove us down the path. I mean, I think in review with town staff, that drove us down the path of looking at alternatives to renovations.
The police station construction, I don't know if maybe Martha can answer this question. The new energy codes that we have in town for new construction, if you renovate a building that's more than 50%, if you do more than 50% work, isn't it like you have to bring the whole thing up to code?
You don't have to do the, in many cases, yes. But in the case of the energy code, the existing buildings are so challenging to bring up to the energy code that it's often impossible to do so. And in fact, in this case, unless you completely strip the building, it would almost be impossible to bring it up to the energy code. For instance, you need a continuous layer of insulation on the exterior of the building. It doesn't have to be very thick, but it has to be there. And we couldn't do that to meet the current energy code. So we would be doing workarounds anyways to meet that. But it would be a pretty heavy investment to go through and make the building try to meet the energy code. So there are some provisions in there. I would say that, accessibility is your biggest code
Yeah.
issue.
I remember helping people up the front stairs of that place for meetings. It's just not
Yeah.
it's not a great situation.
Jerry?
So I take it this construction would be on a slab, no basement?
No basement, no. But sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
but
go
keep in mind, we would be lowering the existing grade, so it wouldn't be quite as low as the current basement
Okay.
where the old police station was, but it would be lower than the current first floor.
Okay. And why is 10,000 square feet, why is that the magic number? Because I'm under the impression that this building is approximately 7,800 square feet, and it seems that there's more than enough space for the people to come in and the employees to do their business. Also, has anybody taken a step back and said, okay, because of the pandemic, we're never going to have a full complement of all employees, people are going to be working from home. I guess the question I have is why so big? Because this is even bigger than the police station. You said a third bigger than the
No, a third bigger than the current town hall, the former town hall building, the
Right.
old police station. So let me tackle the first question, and that was, why did we sort of pick 10,000 square feet? We didn't really pick it. What we did was a program study that looked at what you had here, it looked at what you needed, and it came up with a program that was far greater than 10,000 square feet. And that was the crux of the issue, is that the town really would love to have that as the town hall, but really that's probably not what you can afford. So we, like any homeowner, we had to figure out how much could we buy and what our true needs were. So we did an analysis, and Martha and Tracy helped with this, of what your current space was here. But you also have to consider that things you don't have to deal with in this building, like mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the elevator, stairs, all those other things that have to be in this building, because you're going to have your own facility, not just renting from somebody else's facility. They have to be present in this building. And then there's certain things that probably would be better than what you had here, because this is an office building. And they would be more in tune for what a public building really needs to have to meet the requirements for public meetings and having public offices and that sort of thing. So we ended up with something that was, I'd say it probably should be a little bit bigger than 10,000 square feet on those two floors, but because the direction initially was to try to get to 10,000, we tried to stick to that 10,000 square foot number. For instance, there's a couple of office spaces that aren't shown in that floor plan that you actually have staff for, and they need an office, so we need to make sure that there's space for those people. And there's some adjacencies that need to be changed. For instance, the vault isn't, clerks aren't directly accessible to the vault. They have to traverse across corridors that are open to the public to get there. So there's some changes that should happen, but overall, square footage wise, this seems to be the sweet spot, essentially. It's meeting the needs that you have, that you already are using here, and that you would have to add into the project in order to make a standalone building. For instance, and I'll put a number to it, the typical, what we call grossing factor, which is, you take the net square feet, and that's the actual usable square feet of a room just like this, the space within the walls, and you add about 25% to 30%, and that would be the size you need for the gross of a building. That's a pretty good rule of thumb for architects and builders. And that includes corridors, walls, duct shafts, elevators, all those extra things. And so you look at our roughly, let's say, we'll call it 7,000 square feet that are in here, and you add that 25% to it, you're pretty close to 10,000 square feet. So I think it actually works out pretty close the way that we need to be, that 10,000 square foot's not a bad number to have. The other half of your question is probably not something that I'm qualified to answer yet, but I don't know if
What's-
Tracy or Martha want to.
What was the other part of the question?
Tell me what you're referring to, 'cause you lost me.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about whether or not the occupancy, or like the
Okay.
room size had to be as big as they
Oh,
needed
okay.
to be for virtual meetings.
So actually, Jeff, I'm gonna jump in here. So when I originally had asked Martha and Tracy to look at everything that we have, we still rent storage space for archives and stuff like that. To bring it all under one roof, it's cost prohibitive. So this is a starting point. Like, well, I mean, we can bring it all under one roof. That's a board discussion and a board decision. But this is a place to start. We can make it smaller, we can make it bigger, we can, look at it. This is, I guess, the first inning of a 9-inning ball game is how I'm gonna put it. I mean,
And there's little to no fat to trim off of this plan that
yeah,
I see.
this is the bare minimum. The one thing that I don't want to do and that I won't support, I mean, the board can vote differently, but I won't support spending money on a building that is not going to be feasible from day one. If it's too small, I'm not wasting money like that. So this is just a good place to start, and then we can, again, work some magic. You did a great job on the
I'm not finished.
police station. Yeah.
So basically, this, when you include the 5,000 for the 2 floors and the 2,900 square feet on the attic, it's 12,900 square feet,
Right.
which is bigger than the police station.
Yeah, it's probably a little
police
bigger than
station is
bigger than the
like
police station.
10,000 square
Yeah.
feet. And I have to say, the police station, to me, seems like a huge building in that area. Plus, you're gonna add another building that's even bigger than what you have. I just think it's a big, awfully big building, for approximately a dozen people. And I,
Excuse me, there's more than 12 people.
okay.
What do we have for staff, about 26, 28 people, I think? Yeah, everybody all in. But I heard your point about working remotely and working differently, and post-COVID, that's gonna change. And I think we need to be mindful of that, and when we do get a project, we have to look at those
Yeah.
considerations. But we're still a public building, we serve the public.
That's what I was going to say. I've worked with other towns and sort of in this period of time, people trying to imagine what they're going to do for services, and it really ends up boiling down to, this isn't just any old office building. You guys, your customers are the townspeople, and you have to be available to them, and you can't just say, well, sorry, we don't work from that building on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, only come to us on Thursdays at 3:00 when we're there. And so you do have to have a certain level of openness, a certain level of accessibility to your constituents, and that's what separates a town hall from all these other buildings types that are, and office types that are going remote. It's not to say that there's a way you couldn't do it, but that is what we're running into with a lot of the other towns that are looking at this, as to how to change the way they're servicing their constituents in a way that makes better use of their space, So there's maybe other ways to do it, but I wouldn't necessarily think that you're going to magically disappear half your staff to their houses.
I agree.
Actually, I think it's pretty close to that now, isn't it?
Nobody works remotely.
No one does?
No, no.
Okay.
We've got, I believe we've got, just counting in my head, about 23 people on site here that are working, but nobody's, initially when, in the first phase of the pandemic, we tried to rotate so people could be distant enough, but no, we've been back for quite some time.
Okay, all right.
I know one thing people liked about the old town hall is the quaintness, the quaintness of when you walked into the room, and the windows are kind of around you and you could see the faces. You know what I mean? You kind of, in some ways, it was an efficient way to do business because everything was right there. And if you were looking for privacy, maybe it wasn't the greatest setup, but if you were looking to get through things, the departments were all right there and the flow of it was good. And I mean, if that quaintness or that feeling of walking into a setting like that, you know, is important to the town, we could bring elements of that into a new building that's, you know, much more functional, but still has that Newbury feel, you know?
Conference room was, as you walked
Oh,
in,
yeah, I
officers
remember.
circled it, yeah.
Yeah, no, and it did have I like the term that you used, because that's exactly how it felt like you were walking into like a cottage,
Yeah.
you know, and everybody's right there. I don't think it necessarily, and this is why you were not there, but it didn't have the space, right? So it works, but maybe not, it doesn't work for you guys anymore in that sense. And to design it in a way that does that may not actually end up working well in the future, but I think having that feeling is what we would want to get back to, that people felt like it was open and accessible and everybody was present.
And you have to remember too, I don't know if you remember this, Jerry, but we had trailers there. We had, the Conservation Commission was in a trailer, Inspectional Services was in a trailer, the Board of Health was in a trailer. And they wouldn't fit they wouldn't fit.
Well, I'm glad you referred to that, because I've heard from people who said, you know, in 2017 and 19, the town voted the citizens to rehab, not to tear down. So I'm glad you mentioned that. It's expensive, and I would almost like you to do a research how much it would be to rehab, you know, a sincere, realistic review of how much it would cost in order to rehab, because people did like the old town hall.
I think you're right. I think that exercise has to be,
Yeah.
to be done.
Right.
It has to be proven
And
out.
before we're done tonight, one cautionary tale about trailers. I remember I was probably about 18 when Raleigh built a police station. I thought it was a really neat looking building. It kind of looked like a little Pizza Hut. And so, you know, it got the nickname Polizza Hut. Well, I thought the Polizza Hut was pretty cool. And I don't know, 4 or 5 years later, the trailers started popping up outside, because when they built Polizza Hut, it wasn't enough. And, you know, now they've moved on out of the Polizza Hut, as far as I know. But, I mean, I watched it happen as a young man, and I thought to myself, why weren't they smart enough to know that was gonna happen? But they were at the will of town meeting and the process, and at the time I was young and I didn't realize all of that. But definitely a cautionary tale that played out very near us.
One thing, too, that people should be aware of, obviously, the idea of going up saves the size of the footprint
Right.
than rambling on with additions.
Right.
And on the prior proposal, the Council of Aging was on the first floor, so this means the Council of Aging is not going to be in here. So the town's going to have to build them their own building, because when we leave here,
Well, if they leave here, they have to start here, build up a program, and then, you know, we'll have to look at alternative space for them. But right now, this project is not including
right.
for the Council on Aging.
right.
The rental leases are separate, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Between the COA in
Right.
the town hall.
Yes.
Right, okay.
So we wouldn't have to all leave at the same time.
Okay.
No, we can't, because they have no place to go.
Right, but if you decide that you want them to move, then they're gonna have to be put into a building. So we're gonna have to have that expense as well. And I guess my concern is, there's a lot of money, you know, and we're talking about recession, so that's something that is certainly an issue, given the state of the economy.
Thank you.
We had discussed at one point combining the two, but I think the board decided to kind of
No.
look at just a single facility on that
Yeah,
site.
and then we're able to take care of that at least through ARPA monies for
Right.
the,
The hard part of this, and it's not even worth really emphasizing, but we are here now. And if we had landed when Eric started and everyone started 10 years ago, we'd have a new fire station, a new town hall, and a police station for what we're spending now.
yeah, but that's kind of not fair, because
But it's just the way it goes.
it's the way it is, but that's not fair, because I can remember, and JR, you were there, and I think you were there,
I've been here
and
a
I
long
think it
time.
was Damon and Chuck on the board when we sat in that room, and we had this conversation with over 100 people in that room, and I got the abundant, and Fred, you were there, I think, I got it abundantly clear there was gonna be no combined building. They wanted it done separately, and that's what we've done.
No, I'm good with that. I just wondered what happened to it, because it's, and I wanted clarification that
Yeah,
it's
there's
not
no
going to be
council
in
on
here.
aging here.
Okay, and I think they should be separate.
Yeah. So,
I have a question, totally shifting gears. I'm kind of an IT guy, I'm an IT nut. We have a lot of federal money, I believe, and we have maybe some PEG money we may be able to use. I would like to see, if it was Dana's world, the offices that the committees are in, each office, whether it be Concom or whether it be finance or
in the agent, not you mean, not, the town departments. you
the
mean.
town departments. Is it possible to get video and audio and teleconferencing ability in almost every room in this building, so that we don't have to go to the town library or whatever if we've got conflicts of schedules? You know, we could hold, it'd be great if we could hold multiple video conferencing things at the same time in the same building, in just about any room you wanted to do that in. Has anybody thought about that, or I think we have a lot of money that we can spend in that area due to COVID.
I do want to, you bring up a good point. I want to bring up the PEG studio. It's not part of this either.
That's what I didn't see, which
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
why I
not
was
in
kind
here.
of.
I mean, this is literally the bare bones. If that's something we choose to add back,
You're talking about, like, I'm not an IT guy, but you're talking about, like, the quality, bringing the quality of the wires into the rooms that
Exactly, like,
would
look,
enable
just,
that in the
you can,
future.
you can look around this
I
room
think,
with the tripods and the wires, it's like, none of that would be here.
Exactly.
It would be all hidden
Exactly.
within the walls and the ceiling and
Correct.
throughout the whole building.
And I know that there is the ability to do that, so when you have a meeting, you just go into the room and you turn a switch on, and it comes in.
yeah.
And
Tracy,
you
do you
could
want to
combine
speak
it
to
with
that?
security also. It could be part of the security system in the building at the same time.
I believe there are 4 conference areas.
The 4 conference rooms. The
So they could
expectation in today's day and age is that every conference room should be able to do a virtual meeting. Have the microphones, lighting, all that stuff, buttons on the wall to set it up. To get more to your point, offices, I think that technology is probably more on the town's IT side rather than the building infrastructure, because the building would definitely have, you know, the correct wiring to run all this high-speed data through it, and it would be more on the town's investment in from the equipment side as to whether you'd supply everybody with laptops with cameras or webcams and the right type of networking technology behind the scenes, but definitely could be done. Yeah, absolutely, no question about
It's
it.
easier to do it during the construction than it is after the fact.
Yeah.
But those are all things that we
You know.
have to discuss.
Right, and the PD was an example of that. I know there are some extra wires that were brought through for future things, you know,
Right.
unforeseen, or a wire fails, so you don't have to go in after it.
Sherry?
Yeah, as far as the parking, Isn't that going to impact in the back where the ambulance comes out from the fire department?
So there's still a connection with the fire department there. Yeah, there's a little bit of a hill that goes down in the back to the fire department, and so we've kept that connection exactly as it currently exists because we're not going onto the fire station site to do any work. So we kind of have to keep the grading and some of that that's over there to allow that to happen.
So they'll be able to get out as fast as possible without hitting any of the cars that are parked there?
Well, they'd have to drive through the parking lot to get out to the street, but that's essentially the only possible way at this point, because that's the way that
But when
they
they,
exit now.
but when they have a call, they don't go that road out, do they? They don't come through the parking lot, they go out the front door, right?
The chief has his hand up.
Oh,
That
John,
back bay that you're looking at, that's where they keep the forestry vehicle, so it's not used as frequently.
Okay.
And the ambulances are staged right on Morgan, where you come up the front doors.
All right.
And the fire apparatus. The one that in the back that accesses that little grade, that's the forestry.
Okay. So it won't, the parking area won't impact the ability of using those?
No, they can get it out. Yeah, no problem.
And I must say, in my opinion, you will be a magician if you can get that many parking spaces on that lot.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be tight.
ambitious.
Ambitious, yes. And are they gonna be the standard parking?
Yeah.
Or can you only park a very small car like my car?
We'll buy everybody, buy everybody minis. No, there would be standard parking spaces, yeah.
Tesla outlets.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they're not Teslas maybe, but I imagined that we'd have to comply with the state's requirements to have public charging.
Well, Jeff, there is
We're working on that now.
no
At the library.
reasons, code-wise or anything else, but I mean, except for aesthetics, but that building could come closer to Route 1, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, we could
So, I
shift
mean,
it
if parking.
that way, sure.
More parking's needed, that can be shifted closer to Route 1.
Yeah, I think the original larger buildings that we had designed was much closer, and I think the reaction to that was it was too close to High Road, so we pulled it back quite a bit so that it was
I
more
mean, if
landscape
people
up
wanted to
there.
get totally utilitarian and use every bit of space, they could move the back of the building next to the road and have the entrance in the parking lot. You know, so I mean, it's just as, you know, but you still want to have the aesthetics too.
Yeah, I think Alicia put it very well. This is your starting point. You've got an image, you've got a cost, you've got some plans to work with, and where do we want to go from here? What else do we still need? What doesn't fit? What isn't working right? And what do you like or dislike about where we're starting? And that's great to have. Good point to start from.
thank you. Any further questions of Jeff?
No.
I do. Just one final question.
Sure.
How long is it going to take from the first shovel, you know, digging the dirt to level it to completion? How long would it, this type
Well,
of
that's a
building
good
take?
question. Used to be, I could tell you it would take a year, but it seems like that's not the case anymore. And if we were in today's construction market, it would take a year just to get the electrical equipment to show up on the site. So I'm going to tell you it's probably 14 months,
Okay.
you know, approximately.
But we're not even
but-
there where we're ready to dig a shovel yet,
Oh, yeah,
so.
yeah, that's once you've actually gotten bids.
We have a project too. Still don't even have a project. Okay,
Thank you all very much.
Jeff, is there anything any next steps that you need from us, or what
Well,
will be the next step in
we've
the process?
completed our scope of work, so we'd just be waiting for whatever you guys
Direction
would like
from
to do
us.
next. You know, we're happy to continue to help you guys out with whatever information we can get.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good ride home.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we've got this tonight. I think we'll digest it for now, and then I'll add it to another agenda and continue the discussion. Anybody feel a driving need to vote tonight? I don't think so. You have, no. Okay. Next, request for public property use, Coast to Cure NF Bike Race. Is somebody here? Hi, come on up. Thank you for your patience.
I had knee surgery recently, so I'm a little
God
wobbly,
bless you.
but I'm all good.
You're off your cane.
Thank you for having me. So the Coast to the Cure bike ride, it's in its 11th year. So it's has the same route it's had the past 10 years, going through about 19 communities. And it only goes, in Newbury, it only goes, there's 3 routes, 24, 50, and 100. So the 100 route is the only one that goes through Newbury, the more extensive route. And that, obviously not everyone chooses to or is able to do the 100-mile route. So that's only typically about 50 people that choose to do that longer route. And they don't all leave at the same time. So we expect that there would be, I don't know, but little groups of about 3 to 6 people here and there scattered. There's a staggered start, as I said, so people start anywhere from about 6:30 in the morning from Gloucester, and however long it takes them to get up to Newbury, it takes them. But typically, people are done riding by that longer route. Even though it's longer, they tend to leave earlier in anticipation of it taking longer. So I imagine, by 11, most people are through this portion and going back down to
So
Gloucester.
you're only going through Newbury, heading north.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion so we can discuss. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
One request, if you could bring the message back.
Sure.
Please don't spray paint the roads. Not saying you guys have in the past, others have. So we end up with multi-generational arrows pointing every which way.
I absolutely hear you, and you are not the only town that has said that to us. So we make that message clear that is not something that this event is about, and that we are respecting all 19 communities that we go through, and it's in all our verbiage. So yes, we will reiterate that.
Thank you.
Nobody should be doing that.
In fact, on your application, it says, "We will not mark streets with paint," so.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so
Thank
much. It
you.
means a lot to us.
Good luck
Thanks.
with your event.
Thank you.
Request for we have a business license renewal for Georgie E. Coloris, Georgie Porgy's Ice Cream Factory, LLC, DBA The Beachfront, 2 Northern Boulevard.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Request for public property use for the backstop for the Upper Green, Maudsley Arts Center.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have review, approve, and sign fiscal year '23 appointments. We have 2 committees that we are appointing tonight. One is let me get there, is the Newbury Cultural Council. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Robin Lawson from July 1, 2022 to 6/30/2025.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Robin is here tonight. Did you want to say anything?
I've had great feedback on Newbury Town Day, and thank you so much for everything you did to make it a success.
It was great fun, thank you, Jim.
Just one question. How often does the Cultural Council meet? How often do they meet?
Since the pandemic, it's been quarterly. We had a meeting last night, actually, not we, but they, but I was there. We were there. And the next date is October, because that's just after the close of the application period, October 15th.
For the grants.
For the grants, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Recreation Committee, we have David Broll, 7/1 to 2022 to 6/30/2023. Celine Muldowney, 7/1 2022 to 12/31/2022.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Any discussion?
The terms, and the 1 year and the 6 months, Is there like a reason? I'm kind of new here, I don't,
That's okay,
why is it like only a 6-month term?
because that's all she's willing to commit to.
I gotcha.
So I said, okay,
And I have one other question.
yes,
She works for Stone Ridge,
yes.
and does your daughter work for Stone Ridge too?
She's a,
I'm just wondering if you should recuse yourself from the vote, or if that matters. I'm just bringing it up. People have asked me about
Yeah.
that, so.
well, the last time we appointed her, my daughter didn't work for Stone Ridge, so now she does work there. I don't know about that. What do you think,
Is she
Jenny?
an owner, Moldano?
Yeah, well, I think she is. She's an owner broker.
Then she's her boss. I'd recluse myself.
Okay, thank you. I will recuse myself. JR. I didn't even, thank you, Dana. That didn't even dawn on me.
And if you,
Oh, yeah, well, hold on, let me go.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm glad you said something. I'll sit over here.
Motion to appoint David Broll, 7/1/22 to 6/30/23, and Celine Muldowney, 7/1/22 to 12/31/22.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so next.
excuse me, before we get to that, since we're discussing appointments, I think Mr. Rubicki's comments regarding Mr. Cullivan is appropriate, so I would move to appoint Brian.
Actually, I'm gonna add that to our next agenda.
On the next agenda?
Yes, it will be on our next
Okay.
agenda.
Is he being considered?
Yes, it will be on our next
Okay.
agenda.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that's done. So special town meeting discussion. Okay, so we have a upcoming special town meeting. So I asked the town administrator to look into the logistics of that, because that's where we start. And I guess I'd like to ask Tracy to,
Sure. Town council determined that we are required to hold a special town meeting that was submitted via petition no later than July 30th. We had a conversation with the town moderator about his availability. That was kind of our first step, and he said he's somewhat limited. He's having hip replacement surgery. He was kind of surprised that, he said, I intentionally scheduled it in the summer so I would be available in the fall and the spring. But, so he's going in on the 18th, so he only has availability earlier in the month. We, as you know, have to post 2 weeks in advance of the meeting. So in order to get everyone scheduled, get response clickers, and all of the rest of the logistics together, the date that was, everyone was available for was July 14th. That was what we had kind of zoned in, trying to mesh vacations and availability.
What day is that?
I believe it's a Thursday.
A Thursday?
Yep.
yes.
I just, if the current moderator's not available, I know Judge Armstrong used to do a wonderful job. Would it be possible for him to pitch in, do a special appearance, as it were, a recall?
I don't know that answer.
It's
The
just
moderator.
a thought.
Yeah, it's a good thought. The moderator is willing and is available to do it on July 14th.
Okay.
So
All right,
I guess
so-
I'm going to entertain a motion to schedule the special town meeting on Thursday, July 14th at 7 PM at Newbury Elementary School.
So moved.
May we, on discussion?
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, discussion. Jerry?
Is that an agreeable date with the moving party? That's a thumbs up? Okay, so we're good, okay.
Any further discussion?
It's my wife's birthday.
It's my mother's 80th birthday.
Do we have?
I'm on vacation.
I get it.
Do we have to approve the funding to pay the expenses for this town meeting? Or how does that work?
We'll have to petition the finance committee for a reserve fund transfer.
Okay, about how much does it cost to have a town meeting? Is it 20?
Well, it can cost upwards of $8,000, but we're gonna go low-tech on this one. We're not gonna hire the communications company that does all the microphones. We have some equipment left over from the Caleb days. We're gonna try and utilize those. The PEG team is gonna put those in where it's only gonna be one article. And we are going to get the response clickers, but we're gonna take training so that we can do it ourselves. We don't have to fly the woman here to try and keep the expenses as low as possible. And our team will do the technology and have it available for presentations.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Julie, do you have the document for them to sign, the
Yes,
warrant? Okay,
I do.
later on.
So we're gonna sign the warrant, we're gonna post the warrant tonight, because we have deadlines that we have to meet. Okay, under old business, there's none. Town administrators report.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chairman. I reported to you at our last meeting that our Shellfish Constable, Paul Thistlewood, would be leaving his post to take a DPW position. Scratch that. We happened to have a meeting with him in hopes of discussing the transition, and in the meeting with Paul Thistlewood and the chairman of the Shellfish Commission, Pete Fatino, Chief Lucy was there, Deputy Chief Fisher. We had a lot of conversation about the position and how it might evolve, and Paul reconsidered, and he is now going to remain our Shellfish Constable, which everyone, I think, in the conversation was very happy to hear. So we're going to still work with Chief Lucy to expand the role of the assistant harbor masters. One of the things was a concern was Paul was working 7 days a week. So we're going to expand the role of the assistant
nice.
harbor masters so that they can accept some of those responsibilities during the weekend time. So
That's
a little bit
great.
of a reorganization. We have some process to go through, but I think in the long run, it was a great.
Was it 7 days a week,
outcome.
365 days a year, or just during the season?
365. Yeah. Yep.
I'll chime in real quick, Alicia. What it is everything is under DMFs. It's considered a food source. It's treated as a food source.
Well, it is food, it's
And
clams.
they're really critical, because one bad clam can kill someone.
Right.
So they have all the regulations for red tide and rain closures and on and on and on and on. And there's only one person that monitors the flats right now, and that was Paul, to make sure someone didn't sneak out, someone didn't go out accidentally, there wasn't someone that tripped out there, so, and it was a lot of work.
And not fishing when the shellfish, when it's closed.
Well, I'm just saying, for all those reasons.
That's part of it.
So, it's kind of a big job now.
It is a big
And-
job.
And it's quite an industry for a lot of folks in our town.
Yeah. It's an important industry for us.
Yep. Traditional industry too, one of the last.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have re-advertised the DPW position and hope to get someone on board soon. With respect to Lock and Road updates, in meeting with and hearing from the group of individuals representing the Lock and Road residents, the Select Board has certainly taken note of the various issues that have been brought to the town's attention, which include, as we've recorded them, speeding, truck traffic, safety of children walking to bus stops, the narrow width of the roadway. Those were the primary concerns that we heard over and over again in our conversations. So Chief Lucy has had a chance to review the roadway and the speed limits, and is prepared to recommend to the board a reduction in the speed limit to 25 miles per hour, and that would mirror the Georgetown portion of the roadway. And in addition, he has agreed to providing additional patrols in the area for enforcement purposes. So we'd need a vote of the board to reduce that speed in that area.
You want to move it, Jerry?
Sure. I would propose that the speed limit be lowered to 25 miles per hour on Larkin Road.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Joe?
No?
Jerry?
No.
Dana?
No.
Diane? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. In addition to that, Planning Director Martha Taylor and I have met with the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, and they have agreed to assist us with conducting a traffic analysis, which will help determine the percentage of heavy truck traffic that would be going through there. Obviously, that would be once the road was reopened. Based on that data, they'll assist us in completing the heavy vehicle exclusion application that would have to go to Mass DOT. So we're moving forward with that.
Excuse me, is that just for Larkin Road? Is that just for Larkin Road?
Yes, for Larkin Road, yeah, in addressing the concerns that have been raised. With respect to school bus stop safety, I have had a discussion with Superintendent Forget, and he has committed to working with us to ensure student safety in setting the bus routes for the fall, once Larkin Road is reopened, including household pickup for the elementary school aged children, so it would be more at the end of their driveways, because there was a concern expressed that they had to walk to the end of the roadway where it intersects with Central. And the DPW Director, James Surratt, has advised that the town does own approximately 10 feet beyond the pavement on each side of the roadway. And he will be gathering cost information on widening the roadway. So right now, it's between 16 and 19 feet. And he'll get cost information based on increasing the road width to existing subdivision regulation width, so that would be around 22 feet. And that's the updates I have on that.
I have a question on that one.
Sure.
Would that be, I'm wondering, if that would be the length of the whole road? And could we use ARPA money for that?
Yes, and yes.
Okay. Well, we'll see what he comes back with.
In terms of grants, we also received notification of $20,000 for the support of the permit and license amendment work for the near-shore placement of sand on Plum Island, so I'd need a vote to accept that as well. That's reimbursement for money we've already spent.
Motion to accept.
Second.
For how,
Discussion?
20,000.
Do you know what it is? Do you have any questions?
I have no idea what it is.
Do you want her to explain to you? Or Jeff?
Oh, go ahead, Tracy.
So we've been working for
That's the
a number
financial
of years.
side,
It's
yeah.
pretty much the MRBA that has been working with, under the direction of Senator Tarr, to get sand from the Piscataqua River dredge deposited into permitted zones along the Plum Island beaches.
With the thought that the waves would break farther out to sea and lessen the wave impact.
Jeff, is that the same program that
That you heard about.
it's that I was there
Yeah.
with Bruce Todd as the chair?
And there is discussion beyond, that's the same building and the same, but the conversation is also about now dredging the Merrimack River. The Piscataqua has been dredged. And we received a good amount of sand. Salisbury's site was full and they couldn't get as much sand as they would have liked. I mean, it was kind of a
Well, it wasn't deep- it
catch-22,
wasn't
at
deep
least,
enough.
at least it's full, so, you know, but, yeah, and now we're heading into dredging and placement on Reservation Terrace. And you saw at that meeting what it goes through to actually work with the Corps and the state agencies and the federal agencies and the bird people and all the other things that you saw to get a dredge project through.
Who wrote the grant?
I worked with a representative from Coastal Zone Management and CZM.
Yep,
Someone's at CZM.
She wrote the grant.
yeah, I gathered that by the answer.
Okay.
Okay,
All
and
in
the only
favor?
other
Am I gonna
thing.
vote? All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
The only thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if you've seen it, but the election reform bill has been signed. It was signed by Governor Baker on June 22nd.
I
so
haven't seen
that-
it, so can you?
Yep, it permanently allows for mail-in voting and in-person early voting for elections, and it shortens the window for voter registration. I think it used to be 20 days, but they've shortened it to 10 days in advance of an election.
However, it's being contested,
It is,
so
it is.
stay tuned.
Yep, yep, it could change. More on that.
Always does.
Just like the Shellfish Constable, I could be back reporting something new.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Is that, anything else? Okay, thank you. Okay, correspondence, we got a MBTA Summer 2022 service changes. So I just want to read that. We hope you had a great weekend. Today, we are reaching out and would like to tell you about the upcoming summer service changes. This summer, we're continuing to improve service across the system to support our riders. Subway and bus summer service changes will be effective on Sunday, June 19th, 2022. Commuter rail summer schedule has been effective for May 23rd, 2022. Weekend ferry services resumes for Memorial Day weekend through Columbus Day weekend for F2H. You can find all new schedules online at mbta.com/schedules. So that's what's going on with the MBTA. I think that's been all over the news too. They've been changing things. Meeting updates. Any meeting updates? I have a few, but anybody else have any meeting updates? Dana, have you been to a vet meeting yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm
So,
totally involved with that program, though.
okay,
Working on different things.
okay. Did you want to report anything to the board under meeting updates, or?
Well, there's just some people in town that have asked me about things that we can do for increasing disability monies. And I'm working with Karen Tyler on that. And she is totally excited that I even reached out to her to talk about that. And that is work in progress, so.
Okay. So I attended a fiscal policy committee meeting this morning with the MMA, and the state has something like 2.3 or 2.7 billion with a B dollars in ARPA monies that they were hoping to distribute to the municipalities across the Commonwealth. The least amount of money that a city or town will get is $250,000. That's in addition to our ARPA monies that we have now. There's some talk at the federal level that if it's not spent, there's gonna be clawback. They're gonna take it back at the federal level. So the legislature, both the House and the Senate, and the legislature are working to come up with some legislative language before the end of their term, which is June 30th, to try to get this money for, that was supposed to be geared towards economic impact, but it hasn't yet, so, they did ask that members on the call reach out to your legislatures, so I'm asking the board to reach out to our legislatures, ensuring that this money gets distributed to us. She was gonna send out, links and stuff. I haven't got them yet. When I get them, I'll forward them to the board so you guys can see what that's about. And then we had Newburytown Day on June 18th. And it was a long day, but it was a wonderful day. Robin is here tonight, and Lynn. They were integral to since the beginning of this event, planning it. I'm looking forward to it again next year. I think we need to do some. She's still resting. I think we still need to do a little bit of, what we can do to make it, make it better, what worked, what didn't work. We still have to have that, but.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere. Right.
You know, I'm thankful to the residents of the town of Newbury for supporting this event, for volunteering at this event, for attending this event. And I know that the theater workshop group has the acts of kindness. I don't know if this board is aware, but all during the pandemic, they, this group, it's a nonprofit in town, worked with the Council on Aging to identify elders that were housebound in the community, and they had their children, a small group of kids, I think it was less than 12 kids, would put together care packages. She wrote grants, got funding, put together care packages and a little skit, and they serviced 100 Newbury residents in their homes over the course of the 2 years, and socially distanced out in front of their houses, did a little dance, did a little song, and really elevated, made the difference to a lot of our elders. So I'm really proud of that group. And that's it for my meeting updates. Review of meeting minutes, the draft meeting minutes for 6/14. I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And the draft executive session minutes on 6/14, the approval and release of those minutes. So let's take two votes. We'll approve them first. Can I entertain a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion for approval.
I'm gonna recuse because I was not at that and I couldn't review that.
Okay.
video.
All in favor?
Was that before my time, or was I there? Was I there?
These were for the K-9
For the
one.
first meeting?
The
Okay,
K-9
okay.
one, yeah.
Yep, all right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then to release them,
Motion for release.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Warrants, we have warrants. I'll entertain a motion to sign warrants.
Motion, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'll entertain a motion, no executive session, a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.